Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody. Hello, ghouls. Thank you for listening. I can cut that out. Yeah. So we want to hear your stories. Email us GhoulsNightOutPodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. This is Brandy. I'm here with my sister Jody.
Hello.
So you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Join our group because I've been trying to post more things and do more things. And I was going to ask you, should I post pictures about that I took during our trip to the antique mall?
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that.
I just took a couple of creepy pictures.
Dolls and stuff.
Just a couple.
Might as well.
Okay. So yeah, look for pictures on our Facebook page. I'm going to try and, like I said, try and be more involved in that, in at least Facebook, and I'm trying with Twitter too. Right now I'm copying and pasting what I say on each of them, so nothing is new. But yeah, join our group. It's a secret group, so nobody's going to see that you're joining our group. If you don't want people to see that, if you want to keep it a secret that you're into ghosts or whatever. So I wanted to tell you, I was looking at, it was like strange food that's actually like not good. Like strange food that you can eat that are considered a delicacy.
Oh, like nasty things?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the first ones was in Indiana.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, what the hell? So, brain sandwiches.
Ew, where's that at?
It says something of a delicacy in parts of Indiana. Sandwiches were traditionally made of cow brains, but locals have switched to pig brains to avoid mad cow disease. Battered, deep-fried, and served on a bun, and food personality Alton Brown described it as smooth and creamy on the inside. Like a giant brain fritter with a bun on it. He ultimately concluded that it wasn't very good.
Oh.
So, ew!
That's nasty.
That is nasty. And I don't know where in Indiana that is.
I've never seen, it must be like way, like maybe out in the boonies or something.
That's what I was thinking. That's the only, because, ew.
I've never been to a restaurant and saw brains on the menu.
No. And I'm kind of wondering if it's something that they serve at a restaurant, or if it's something that local people have come up with on their own, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how else they would have gotten wind of a fucking brain sandwich, which that's disgusting.
There's secret groups out there that are actually zombies.
Oh, no shit.
They're trying to cover it up, I guess. No, I don't know.
Oh,
that's
my
weird.
gosh. Ew. That actually could be a thing. You never know. Gross.
It's like those people that think or pretend like they're vampires.
Oh my gosh, I know. And they actually drink blood.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah, that's gross. Okay, so like I was telling you earlier, I just have been going through like the normal news of the week and kind of just anything bizarre or out of the norm that I see. I just kind of wanted to talk, about it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of extreme embalming?
What?
Extreme embalming.
No.
Okay, this is so messed up. It is, okay, for instance, this past week, there was I think he was in his 20s. There's a man, I believe he was from Florida. I could be wrong. I'm going to actually look it up. But anyway, he is embalmed. He died, but they put him in a chair with video game remote and his favorite snacks. And he's got sunglasses on, his favorite outfit. It is so messed up.
So where is he at when he's like this?
This is at the funeral home.
Okay. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
You know, back in the old days, like 1800s, where they used to, because back then people didn't have cameras like we do now. Right. So they didn't have very many pictures. So when
there's this lady with her beer and a cigarette.
Gosh.
This is the guy that I was telling you about.
Oh, that's creepy.
I know.
Looks like a mannequin.
Yeah, it looks like a wax museum.
Yeah,
but he died, and that's how they wanted him to be remembered.
Oh.
Guys, look it up. It's called an extreme embalming, and these people are set up in these positions where they look like
They're supposed to look like they're like real life, like they're still alive.
Exactly.
But they don't.
No.
You can tell that's not right.
No, it's not right.
But anyway, so back in the olden days, when someone would die in your family, they would dress you up and, make you look pretty and do one last photo.
Yeah, the death photos.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what that reminds me of.
Absolutely, because in some of those photos you cannot tell that these people are dead.
Oh,
in
no.
some of them they look way dead.
Yes, they do.
But in other ones,
they would have them attached to like sticks and stuff to
really they would like prop them up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so messed up. How is that okay?
Back then I kind of understand it. They want a picture. Like sometimes it's like little kids.
Yeah.
And they just want a picture of their child. Because they don't have any or whatever. And I can kind of understand that.
I guess if you didn't
nowadays, I mean, to each their own,
Yeah.
whatever. But it doesn't. They don't look real.
It's not.
They don't look alive.
No, it's not them. That's not them. It's so weird.
It's their meat suit that's empty now.
Yeah. That's ugh. But yeah, I thought I would mention that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. You guys look up the
It's like I don't want
of
anyone
that.
looking at me at all.
I know.
When I'm dead, I'm gonna do what Mommy did.
Yeah.
And not have a showing.
Yeah.
Not. I mean, funeral service is fine. But
yeah, we're gonna have to do something.
But
yeah, not anything that
I
extravagant.
don't want
crazy.
my body to be. I don't like attention now.
Yeah.
Let alone when I'm looking dead and yeah, no.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so weird. I just don't know. I just don't know about that. But yeah, I thought I would tell you about that. That was in the news this week. And something really creepy happened this week.
Really?
Yes. Okay. So,
Here?
yeah.
Okay.
So Erin's been working really late this whole week. So it's me and the kids, we've been by ourselves. And anyway, we were all in the living room and I went to the bathroom downstairs and I used the bathroom, came back out, and I came back in the living room with them. And Taryn said, "We heard you freaking out in there." And I was like, what? What are you talking? I didn't make any noise at all. I was like, what? And Joel said, "Yeah, we heard you laughing."
Oh, I just got chills.
I know.
Oh
And I was like, and these children are so desensitized because I swear they were like, "Anyway, where's my phone?" And I was standing there like, "Oh my God, Junior, what is that? What? Laughing? No, I didn't laugh.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I seriously, I had to I was like, wait, where are you going? What did you hear? I want to know. And
where did it sound like it was coming from?
Well, I was like, the TV upstairs is on.
That crossed my mind.
I was like, the TV upstairs is on. I was like, that's probably what you heard. She was like, no way. She said it was crystal clear.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I was like, what did you hear? And she was like, it sounded like a creepy laugh.
So they thought you were messing with them, or?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they thought. They just were like, yeah, we heard you freaking out in there. And it was the weirdest thing because I was back there.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything at all.
Oh my God.
She said it came sounded like it was coming from the kitchen.
Ooh, I just got chills again. Oh my God.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, it freaked me out for the rest of the night.
Well, see, when I lived here, nothing ever
Well, nothing's happened like that here.
Yeah.
And nothing else happened this week. And that's the first thing that's happened. But I was like, oh my gosh, what did you what did you hear?
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. But yeah, I was like, I still don't know what to think about it. I don't know what and both of them heard it, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, they were both like, yeah, we heard you in there. And I was like, that wasn't me.
I didn't say nothing. I didn't do nothing. Wow.
I know. That was all. Did you say you?
Yes. Okay, so me and Peyton took Nix to the vet yesterday.
Okay.
Was that
Yeah.
yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And by the time we left the vet, Nix had turned into Odin because Nix is a boy.
Really?
Yes.
Oh no, that's funny.
And Odin, the boy, was carried out in a pink cat carrier.
Oh, that's okay.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because I had my friend Amy check, because I don't know anything about cats and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had her check, and she was never positive that it was a girl. She goes, I'm like 90% sure it's a girl. So that's what we went with, and well.
Oh.
And even the vet had a hard time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well
So,
then.
but I was like,
What's Odin?
that Peyton wanted to call the cat Odin, and I was like, I'm not naming a girl cat Odin.
Oh, I mean, what is it? Is
Odin
it like
is like, is it Greek god? It's a god. I think
Okay.
it's a Greek god, but I'm not
Okay.
positive.
well, we can look it
Like
up.
Odin and Thor,
Right.
And
Yeah. Loki.
Loki,
Yeah.
yeah. So you should have seen the huge smile on his face when he heard her say it was a boy. He's just grinning from ear to ear, and I look at him, I'm like, what? He's like, Odin. I was like, oh, fine.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
I don't care, but
Yeah.
it was just funny. We went in with a girl, came out with a boy. Whatever.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's really hard getting used to saying he instead of she.
Yeah, well, because we have a boy cat, and every time I would go over there, it was totally a he, because that's what I'm used to. So.
Well, you were right.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So it's Friday the 13th today.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Did anything creepy happen to you today?
Not a thing.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh well.
That's okay.
I'm not superstitious anyway, so.
Are you a little stitious?
No.
That's from the
No
office.
snorting allowed.
Did I snort?
A
Or
little,
did you snort?
You started to.
Oh, sorry. I do that
I
sometimes.
know.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't even notice it anymore.
But no, I'm not superstitious, but I totally believe when there's a full moon, people go crazy.
People do go crazy. I know that for a fact because
It's
I have
just-
worked in customer service a lot. And that is totally true.
Well, even just drivers on the road.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know what happens
People
to these
do
people,
go
but-
insane when there is a full moon, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I got a few stories. They're Friday the 13th stories. They're not necessarily spooky or anything. But
Okay.
I just thought since, it was Friday the 13th that I would tell some.
Yeah.
So the first one is called Black Cat Curse. On Friday the 13th, 1969, a black cat darted onto the field during a decisive late-season matchup between the Cubs and the Mets, both jockeying to lead their division. As the story goes, the cat ignored the Mets and stared into the Cubs' dugout for 10 seconds before disappearing. The Cubs crumbled after that game, losing 18 of their next 27 games and toppling from first place in the division. They didn't really shake that curse until the last season, and then lost to the Mets in the playoffs.
What?
Oh my god.
What? What noise?
That is the first time I have seen your cat.
Kitty, kitty. He's shy.
You're
He's
a big kitty.
Compared to yours,
Yes,
yeah.
I'm not used to big kitties. What's his name again?
Mo.
Hey, Mo.
He's shy and he gets freaked out easily. He's a rescue cat, but he's very lovable.
Yeah. Okay, my next story is called Lightning Strikes. At 13:13 military time on Friday the 13th
Ooh,
in
weird.
2010, a 13-year-old boy was allegedly struck by lightning in Suffolk,
Say what?
Suffolk, England. I
Okay.
cannot say that word.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He survived with only a minor burn, and from that
Oh,
moment
shit.
on, he had hands down the best party story of all time.
Fuck yeah. That's crazy. He was 13 at the time,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I used to work with a guy that had, he was a kid at the time, but he turned 9 years old on 9/9/99.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. The next story is Tupac's death.
Ooh.
In September of 1996, Tupac Shakur died on Friday the 13th, almost a week after he was shot 4 times in a drive-by. Of course, scores of conspiracy theorists maintain that he's not actually dead.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, me too.
Unfortunately, that is not true. He is totally dead. Just like Elvis
Yeah.
and Biggie and everybody else that people think are still alive. No, unfortunately, everyone is dead.
Yes, everyone dies. Sorry. Okay. This one's called Plane Crash, Cannibalism, and an Avalanche. On Friday, October 13th, 1972, a plane full of Uruguayan rugby players crashed into the snowy Chilean mountains. Did I say that right?
Chilean?
Chilean?
I have no clue. We don't do geography, remember?
Yes. Only 27 of the original 45 passengers survived. The bad luck continued. Without supplies, the survivors had to eat their dead teammates. A few weeks later, an avalanche killed 8 more, and the 16 remaining survivors were not rescued until the end of December.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a long time. All right, my last Friday the 13th story is called The Pinnacle of All Fakery. In 1923, the Hollywood sign was unveiled on July 13th. Originally, it said Hollywoodland, and it advertised a new housing development. So you could say the entire movie industry, symbolized by this sign and symbolizing vanity, commercialism, sellouts, etc., has its origins on Friday the 13th. Makes sense.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I knew that it used to be called Hollywoodland, but I forgot or didn't know that it was because they were advertising a new housing development.
Oh, I knew that.
I thought they put it up there because it was Hollywood.
Oh, no, I knew it was an advertisement. It was like a billboard, kind of. And then I don't remember why they took out the land and it just became Hollywood.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. But yeah, there's like a lot of legend and ghost stories surrounding that sign.
There's the one about that girl that jumped off.
Peggy something?
Something, yeah.
Yeah, she's like the most well-known story because she committed suicide and then like the next day she got a lead role. Oh my gosh, it's awful.
That's so sad.
It really is.
Of course, if she wouldn't have killed herself, then...
Yeah, but again, that's mental illness. There's got to be something that's, too much for her to way too much for her to deal with, and just unfortunately it's sad. But.
Yeah. Okay. Now I've got some scary stories.
Ooh, yay.
Can't be Friday the 13th without some scary stories.
I know, right?
Okay, this one's called Roy. I come down to the kitchen for breakfast on a Saturday morning. My mom and my sister are already up, and they look exhausted. My mom asks, "Did you sleep all right?" "Yeah," I say. "Even after you woke up?" "I woke up." Sometime in the middle of the night, I had started screaming. My mom rushed into my room and found me sitting up in bed screaming, "Roy, Roy, Roy, Roy." She did her best to calm me down while shooing away my pissed-off sister who had stormed in to find out what the fuck was going on with me. She asked me who Roy was, but I would only say that he was a bad man. I'm shocked as they're telling me all this, and they're surprised that I don't remember. But then again, I'm the sound sleeper of the house who can doze through lightning storms. We write it off as some weird nightmare that I don't remember. Years later, I'm off at my first year of college. My mom sends me a videotape in the mail. She didn't mention it before I had left, as in, "Hey, keep your eye on the mailbox," or anything. I press play, and it's my mom taking a video camera through our house. She was moving and sent the tape as one last walkthrough of the now empty house before she left. It was sweet and a little tear-jerking until she said, "So here's something you might find interesting," when she approached a closet in her bedroom. This closet, aside from being the hiding place for all the Christmas gifts, was also always packed full of old luggage and other odds and ends. You could only go 3 feet in before you would have to start climbing on things to go farther. She goes in with the camera, and I see that there are purple crayon drawings on the wall, down at the height where a small child would draw. There are random scribbles, some stick figures, something that may have been a dog. I was already puzzled because I had no memory of ever playing in this closet, and I don't know how I would have drawn on the walls when they were, in my mind, always covered. Then the camera goes to a word on the wall, Roy. And my mom must not have remembered that night. She said on the tape, "Roy, I wonder who Roy is."
What?
That's the end of the story.
Ew, what?
I don't know.
That's creepy.
All right. This one's called You Finally Found Out. Long before I was born, my parents were renting a house in a different part of our state. My mother never really liked the place. Something just seemed off to her. The feeling still hadn't gone away even after a couple months of living there. In fact, as time went on, she began to feel even more ill at ease. She chalked it up to paranoia. My father's schedule was shifted and he was placed on night duty. The first night she was due to be alone in the house, she had a terrible anxiety attack. Something bad was around her, she could just feel it, and she called a friend and had her stay the night. The next day, my dad kidded her about being such a wuss. Before my dad left for work the next night, my mother sheepishly placed a large pair of sharp sewing shears under her pillow. She said she felt embarrassed because, of course, it was all just her imagination. She had considered a knife but figured that was too silly and over the top. Still, she wanted something just to focus on, really, that could help calm her nerves when she went to bed. The dream was very intense, the kind where you have no idea it is even a dream. She said in the dream she got up to go to the bathroom. As she was on her way back to the bedroom, the dream her suddenly started to feel a tingling sensation all over. Then she couldn't breathe. At first in the dream she was calm, but her breathing wasn't coming. She tried swallowing and felt a hard pressure against her throat, a hand pushing and not letting go. Then the pressure jumped and was under her jawline, squeezing so that her whole neck was collapsing inwards. She fell to her knees. She was suddenly aware that she was making gurgling sounds. For some reason, she said it felt like she wanted to retch out her tongue just so she could get some more air in. There was a throbbing under her ears, and the hallway started tilting. She didn't know why, but she was overcome with only one thought, that she had to get to the bedroom. She began crawling along the hall on her knees, propelling herself along by her elbows, still choking and gasping. The carpet burned against her skin. It felt as if she were underwater, every slight movement met by resistance. Finally, she made it into the bedroom. Despite her best attempts to calm herself, her heart was beating so hard it had physically started to hurt her as well. Suddenly, whatever had her neck tightened to the point where she heard a cracking sound. She thought, "I'm going to die," and this gave her dream self a surge of adrenaline. She thrust her arm up onto the bed and grabbed under the pillow, and that's when she woke up. The sun was coming up and there was fresh light in the room. She was drenched in sweat and lay in the bed for about a half hour, too shocked to move. When she finally convinced herself to get up and swung her legs out from under the blanket, she felt a stinging, sore sensation. She looked down on the worst carpet burn she had ever seen. Layers of skin peeled off. Small streaks of red blood on pink skin. It was only after she slowly made her way around the bed and towards the door that she found out what had happened to the sewing shears. They were stuck 3 inches deep into the cheaply made wall. My mom packed her bags and had moved in with her sister before my dad even got home. She refused to go back in the house, no matter how much my dad complained about the cost of getting out of their lease. Finally, my dad gave up and called the landlord, ready for a fight. He was surprised when the landlord relented and gave him a get-out that barely cost my parents anything. "I guess you finally found out," the landlord said. "Found out?" my dad said. It turned out that about 5 years earlier, a woman had been found dead in the house. The coroner ruled it a homicide, saying that she had been strangled.
Oh my
The woman's
God.
boyfriend, who claimed he wasn't anywhere nearby, was arrested and convicted.
No.
I know the boyfriend didn't do it, my mom finished up, and that's why I tell your dad I saved his life, because I did. I saved my own and saved him from having to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Holy shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Oh my god.
That would freak me out.
Fuck yeah.
The shears are in the wall.
Yeah. The whole thing, that's scary.
Okay, my next story is called Backwards and Forwards and in One Place. A few years ago, I asked my SO if he had ever seen a ghost. He got really uncomfortable and squirrely. Lots of hemming and hawing. Annoyed, I said, just say yes or no. I won't judge you if you think you've seen a ghost. I'm a skeptic and figured he didn't want to sound like a rube or something. I think that's English or something. I don't know what a rube is.
Yeah,
but...
I don't know. That's okay.
Turns out he was hesitant because he believes he saw one, but it was while he was deployed on a mission in the Middle East, and he was trying to think of how he could describe it without giving up any classified info. The story is this. He was in the spooky, vague Middle East when there was a commotion from the soldiers watching the perimeter. Apparently, they could see a man about 100 yards away from the camp. He had appeared out of nowhere. No one saw him walking up. The man was just standing there, not doing anything threatening, but since it was a strange man in a war zone, they broke out all the high-tech gear to see what was going on. They could see his face, his clothes, his height, but he looked bizarrely distorted and was not giving off a heat signature.
Oh,
They
my
have
God.
infrared gym jams and whatnot. It's the freaking military, not a piddling ghost hunting troop here. He was not the temperature of a human being. He was the temperature of the air around him. They had no idea what was going on, and people were freaking out. At this point, I said some obvious stuff. Maybe it was a scarecrow or dummy or a shadow, or the soldiers were really tired and delirious and their eyes were playing tricks on them. Or it was a hologram weapon shaped like a human. His response, they called different people up to come look at the man. It wasn't just a few soldiers who saw this. Dozens of people came to look, and everyone confirmed that it was definitely a person.
Oh my God.
Eventually, they decided to send out a team to check this guy out. When they got about 50 yards away, the man started walking. Only it didn't look like he was walking toward or away from them, only walking in place.
Oh.
They froze, expecting an attack, but the man never got any closer. So he was moonwalking? Ooh, a terrorist with dance moves. Scary. His shaky response. It looked like it was trying to walk, but instead of moving like a regular person, its bones were breaking and splintering backwards and forwards at the joints.
What?
I can't think of a better way to describe it. Its head was jerking around like a puppet. When the convoy got a few yards closer, it disappeared entirely. The team hauled ass back to camp, and as soon as they returned, the man-thing reappeared in its spot.
Oh my fucking God.
Everyone took turns watching it for an hour or so until it disappeared for good.
Oh my God.
Didn't walk away, didn't fly or melt or explode, just stood there for a long time, then vanished.
That jerky.
Yes! That's
What?
exactly what I was thinking.
Oh my God.
I hate
what
that.
What is that?
I don't know.
That is the scariest shit ever. Oh my gosh. I don't like it.
All right. My next story is called Chirp. When my friend was about 11 or 12, she went to an all-inclusive resort with her family. This one was one of those big places with several pools, restaurants, kids' areas, etc. Her dad buys walkie-talkies, one for her and her brother, and one for the adults. This was before cell phones were a big thing, so that they can stay in touch if the kids want to do their own thing. One night, her parents and her brother go down to the restaurant for supper. My friend isn't feeling well, so she asks to stay in the hotel room and watch a movie. They agree, giving her the walkie-talkie for emergencies. She's up there for an hour or so, checking in periodically with her dad, just to say hi, ask what they're eating, etc. She starts to feel really sick and says to her dad, "Hey, when will you be back to the room?" Her dad answers back, "We're coming up right now, sweetie. I forget the room number. Could you tell me what it is?" As soon as she's about to answer, her dad's voice cuts in. "Hey, Chirp, we're coming up right now. We brought you some cake. See you in 5. She knows the second one is her dad because he always calls her Chirp. She locks the door. When her parents get back, they say they haven't talked to her all night.
Oh my God.
Ooh, I've got
no.
chills. Yes.
That is creepy.
Oh, that was my last story.
Oh. Okay. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
I hate stuff like that when you think you're talking to somebody that you know.
Anything mimicking
Yes.
something.
And then
no.
they come back and they're like, I haven't talked to you. And,
Yeah, that's
oh, I
creepy.
hate that.
Yeah, I know. It's so scary. I don't like it. Okay. So I looked up just a couple of things about Friday the 13th. So I have just a couple of things that may explain why it's quote unquote bad luck. So there's a clinical term for anxiety triggered by this day. It's called frigatriskaidekaphobia.
Oh, okay.
So
Say that 5 times fast.
I don't think I could.
You couldn't say it one time. Slow.
Shut up. Okay, anyway. So many researchers trace the superstition to the story of Jesus and the Last Supper. 13 guests joined Jesus at the table, with Judas taking the final spot, and Jesus was arrested and sent to be crucified the following day. So they thought maybe because there were 13 guests. 12 signifies completeness, while 13 implies trouble. So there's 12 zodiac signs, 2 sets of 12 hours in a day, 12 months in a calendar year. In myths and religion, the number of gods on Olympus and the number of animals in the Chinese horoscope, the number of tribes in Israel, and the number of apostles of Jesus all equal 12.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that, like I said, that signifies completeness.
Yeah.
So adding just one more digit seems to throw everything off balance and invite bad luck. Loki, the mischievous god of Viking mythology, is believed to be the 13th god in the Norse pantheon. So that's why he's
God of what? Mischief and
right.
whatever.
So yeah, he's considered bad luck too. Let's see. In 1881, a group of 13 members formed a 13 club. They tempted fate by walking under ladders, spilling salt, breaking mirrors, and dining in groups of 13 on the 13th day. 5 U.S. presidents joined in on the fun. As for the cursed combination of Friday the 13th, many trace it back to October 13th, 1307. On this day, King Philip IV of France imprisoned and later executed members of the Knights Templar under accusations of idolatry. And in idolatry, idolatry.
Okay.
In 2003, the novel The Da Vinci Code brought worldwide attention to the legendary connection. So I've never seen The Da Vinci Code. Bless you.
Sorry.
Well, other examples include the 1907 book Friday the 13th by Thomas Lawson. The novel tells of a stockbroker who plays on people's fears of the day to bring down Wall Street. When the stock market did crash on Friday the 13th, 1989, it was quickly labeled the Friday the 13th mini crash. This unlucky day was partially credited to triggering the recession of the early 1990s, too. Today, the references are more of the movies, Friday the 13th, so
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees, things like that. Numerous reports of tragic death of the beloved Princess Diana include the mention of her car striking the 13th pillar in the tunnel where she died, and the fear of the absence of the 13th floor in most office buildings.
Yeah.
And hotels, 13th row on most airlines, things like that. People try to avoid that. It's said to believe if a funeral procession passes you on Friday the 13th, you'll be the next to die.
Oh.
So, yeah,
Yay,
avoid those.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. I didn't see any funeral processions today, which is good. Yeah, and it's actually said that car accidents are less on Friday the 13th because superstitious people drive safer or they avoid traffic at all.
Huh.
So it's actually, I've always had positive experiences on Friday the 13th. I don't know about you, but nothing's ever happened. Knock on wood.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not superstitious or anything.
Yeah.
Nothing good or bad has happened.
Yeah.
On Friday the 13th for me.
Yeah.
It's just another day.
Yeah. So those were my like little facts about it. You know, I couldn't find anything about like coincidences on Friday the 13th or scary things that have happened. I couldn't find anything. So.
Yeah. Me neither. I don't.
That's okay. It's just superstitious. If you're superstitious, you are. If you're not, you're not. So I focused on Ouija boards this week.
Hate Ouija boards.
I know. I refuse. I
won't. No.
Yeah, I won't.
No. Not to say that when I was younger I didn't do a Ouija board.
I did.
But...
Yeah, I did once. But didn't you say you had a friend that like freaked out?
Oh yeah. We were at a party once and someone had just mentioned the idea, and she was like, hell no.
Damn.
She said, if you guys start doing that, I'm leaving.
Holy shit. She wasn't playing around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they totally freaked me out, and I would never do it now. Like I said, I think I've done it once in my life when I was little, or like, you know, in middle school.
Yeah.
But other than that, I won't.
No.
I'm not going to touch it. But I did find a couple of stories about Ouija boards and, you know, creepy things that have happened surrounding them. This is Mrs. H810. She wrote, totally a non-believer in these things, but something happened while using a Ouija board I'll never be able to explain. I was at a sleepover for a friend who was turning 13. Her parents rented us a hotel room, and they were staying in one that was attached. We decided to try out her Ouija board. A number of the girls were using it and randomly spelled out, go to bath. There was nobody in the bathroom at the time, and the lights were out, so a couple of us walked over to the bathroom right by the door, and when we did, the lights flashed on and off a couple of times, and the shower rod came flying off the wall and flew into the wall across from it. Freaked us all out so bad we stopped using the board immediately. 22 years later, none of us have an explanation.
Ooh.
That would creep me out.
Yes, it would.
This one, it says, kind of lengthy but true and worth a read. And I have no idea how to pronounce that. Maybe Michaela May, 666. My boyfriend at the time lived in an old house with his grandmother. His room was upstairs, and he told me before that he felt uneasy in his room at times, like something else was there. Well, for whatever reason, we decided to use a Ouija board up there one night. We did everything the way I heard it was the correct way to use the board. We asked very simple questions, but no reply, no movement. We gave up and put it away. Nothing happened the rest of the night, but the nights that followed, we both had very similar experiences. We felt as if we were being watched, and we both had seen male figures in our rooms at night. I asked my boyfriend where in the room he sees the shadow, and he pointed in front of the bedroom door, which is exactly where I had been seeing it. Then after about a week, all of this was about 2 a.m. We were both awake and in bed cuddling, facing each other. His one arm under his body and the other resting, holding me and rubbing my shoulders, made it impossible that it was him when I felt something touch and grab my ass. I immediately told my boyfriend, and he flung out of bed saying, "That's it." I told him I had heard of burning Ouija boards to, quote-unquote, close the link between realms. We grabbed the board out of the closet and head downstairs. We threw the board outside into a metal burning can and looked in the garage frantically for lighter fluid or gas. Nothing. So we went back in and were in the kitchen looking for lighter fluid. The lights in the microwave and the phone were flickering in inconsistent patterns. Neither of them ever flickered, nor had the power went out. We ended up finding lighter fluid and ran outside and started the fire as quick as possible. After the board burned for a little while, we went back inside because all of the movement in the house was so late it had woken the dogs, and we wanted to see if his grandmother was awake or worried. She was sound asleep, so we returned outside just a few minutes later to see if the fire was out. It was still smoldering, but the piece of board that was left, and it was flipped downward. Using a stick, my boyfriend flipped it over, and the only remaining piece of the board was the piece that said goodbye. It felt like a scene from a movie.
That's kind of creepy.
Okay. This one is from Bad Boy Ray. So I live in a big house with my roommates, and the two of us have walk-in closets that are literally big enough to hang out in. One night while we were partying, we decided it was a good idea to sit in my roommate's closet and play with a Ouija board. I literally cannot remember what happened in there and honestly forgot all about it. That roommate moved out and a new roommate moved in. One night I heard banging coming from her room, which was on the other side of my room. I go over to her door, but it's locked. I find the spare key and open her door, and at the same time she comes out of the closet and tells us that she's been banging on the walls because the closet door closed behind her and she couldn't open it from the inside. There isn't even a lock on that door.
Ooh.
Ooh, that is creepy. Okay. When I was in 9th grade, my girlfriend had a sleepover and we decided to use her Ouija board. For some reason, we thought it was a good idea to have her adult neighbor play with us too. She was very suspicious of the board and said they never worked. We said fine, then you can ask questions and we don't know the answers to. She finally agreed to play and then proceeded to ask what her grandmother's first name was. It started to spell out Mary. She immediately started crying and stopped playing. Now, super pumped by this, we preteens kept playing. As we were asking questions, the neighbor's cat started sniffing up to the board. After a moment, the cat's head started vibrating.
What?
One of the girls went to pet the cat, and it freaked out, jumped off my chest, and ran into the other room. The neighbor was unable to get the cat out of the room for 2 days. Later that night, the girl who owned the board said how she had gotten the board. When she was on vacation earlier that summer, an old guy in a truck said, "Here, little girl, you look bored," and handed her the board. Needless to say, we were all super creeped out.
Yeah. You don't take anything from strangers.
Seriously. Especially a Ouija board. I mean, come on.
Who's just handing out Ouija boards anyway?
A creepy old man that says, "Here, little girl, you look bored." Oh my God. I would run away screaming.
I know, I would too.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this next one. My cousin and I were playing with the board in my grandma's house. Since the house was very old, there were some flaws, like how in the room we were playing, in order to close the door, you had to lift the door by the doorknob and push it closed. While playing the game, nothing was happening. So frustrated, I yelled, "This is stupid." In that moment, the door slammed shut so loud my mom told us to stop playing around. We immediately threw the board in the yard and haven't touched one since. When I was in 7th or 8th grade, me and my friends were playing around with a Ouija board, and of course, we all accused one another of moving it, so we decided to settle it. At the time, we didn't have phones or anything, so no one was on any device that would tell the time, and we were in the middle of my friend's empty, unfinished basement, as we had been for at least an hour. We asked the Ouija board what time it was, and it said 7:39. We all ran upstairs to check the clock, and it was 7:39. Could have been one of my friends guessing the time correctly, but that's no fun. Okay, so when I was about 12 years old, one day after school, my friends and I found my mom's board and thought it would be a good idea to try it out. While I don't remember exactly what the board said, I do know some seriously weird stuff had happened in the house the day after that. Some of the activity includes the light in my old bedroom randomly turning off and on, the speaker to my old desktop making a sound that I can only describe as a demon or alien trying to come through, even when it was turned off, me trying to take MySpace pictures with friends, and there was an orb that showed on only pictures of me for about a month, and me waking up in the middle of the night from a dreamless sleep, screaming my head off for no apparent reason. Needless to say, I will never touch a Ouija board ever again. One night in high school, right before we were all leaving for college, my friends and I, who were super into spooky stuff, convinced my boyfriend at the time, who was terrified of it all, to have a Ouija board session. We ended up making contact with a spirit named John Depp, who told us he was from our hometown and had passed away sometime in the 70s. We did a quick Google search after ending our session, and homeboy, and all of the information he told us was true. We were all amazed. My ex-boyfriend has refused to touch a Ouija board since. That is so creepy, though. I mean, I would be the same way. I'd be like, hell no, that's scary. Okay, when I was younger, my sister and I would play Ouija all the time. We never really believed it until one day we were playing and we asked the spirit, Jack, to send us a sign. The lights in the next room started flickering and our computer turned on. It immediately spooked us out, so we ran out of there quickly. The next day I was looking for the board, which we had left in the room, but it was gone. It ended up under my sister's bed. Every time it was lost, it would end up in there. Weird things started to happen in my sister's room. Even to this day, 10 years later, my friend's mom ended up burning the board for me. Okay, next one. In high school, my friends and I used to play with Ouija all the time, and we'd always do it at my friend's house, which was also a funeral home.
Oh, no.
Seriously.
What the hell?
Way. Wow, that's crazy. We'd always, at the time, my dad was really sick, so we started doing it, and the Ouija board said it had a message for me. It started saying that this man from Tacoma, which is where my dad lives, who had died earlier that year. None of my friends knew where my dad lived, or did they know who the dead guy was. We later looked up the name of this man who was real from Tacoma, and he had died earlier that year. The Ouija went on to tell us that my dad had cancer and only my sister knew. I freaked out and asked my dad and my sister, and they told me it wasn't true. So when we asked the Ouija why it had lied, it started spelling H-A-H-A-H-A.
Aww.
Still freaks me
What an
out to
ass.
this day. Seriously. Asshole ghost. After trying and failing to contact a spirit for the first time, the lights cut out. We lit some candles and turned on an old radio to play nothing but white noise while they tried to contact the dead. When the spirit finally responded, my friends and I learned that the name was Zozo, and from there things began to go poorly. We began to try and move the planchette in circles like you do when you're expecting an answer, and all of a sudden it stopped and spelled the word hello, and it would not move otherwise. We actually slid the whole board off the table trying to get it to move, but it was being pushed down so hard it wouldn't. The planchette continually altered from hello and no. Radio emitted screeching sounds, and a bunch of objects fell off the top of the refrigerator. The candles blew out, and the cat that lives in the house began walking with a limp the next day. Weird activity continued in the home for the next 2 weeks. While stationed in Germany, a group of soldiers decided to light some candles and contact the dead. The first spirit they spoke to was a young woman who had died while she and her boyfriend were driving home from a Grateful Dead concert, and now she was looking for him. After she went away, they actually spoke to the boyfriend, who asked if they could tell his girlfriend the reason he was sorry. Then they spoke to the ghost of an older woman, who said the reason the spirit of the young woman couldn't find her boyfriend was that he was in hell. Nice, yeah. I got a call from my cousin who said that he and my brother and his dad and his best friend were using a Ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they took a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy and placed it into an adjacent room face down on a pile of towels. My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense and went to take a shit. My dad and his brother and friends started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was who was in the other room. It just started spouting off random numbers, and when my cousin came back into the room, his brother said that it wasn't working and that they were going to put it away. He showed him the answer of the last question he asked and said, "Dude, that's my social security number."
Alrighty. Oh, that's a weird one.
I know. I thought it was kind of funny. Oh goodness, that's my last one. That's fine. I couldn't find a whole lot that were super creepy, unfortunately. But yeah, those were my Ouija board stories for the week.
All right.
Do you have a witty wrap up?
I have got witty wrap up for you.
Yay, witty wrap up.
I think this might be my favorite ones.
I like to laugh.
I know, so do I. All right. This one is from Emily. My daughter was 2 years old and told the cashier at the grocery store, sometimes Daddy pulls on Mommy's nightgown and Mommy says no.
Okay. Man, why in the world would she bring that up?
Yeah, really.
I wonder what the cashier said to her.
All right, this one is from Heather. When I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, we explained to my older daughter that Mommy has a baby in her belly and Daddy put it in there. Well, she always wanted to be just like Mommy, so she started going around telling people she has a baby in her belly and her daddy put it in there.
No! No! Oh my God! That poor father. He's probably like, oh no, not how it sounds. At all. Oh my gosh, that would be so embarrassing.
All right, this one's from Ashley. Look, Mommy, that police has handcuffs like the ones in your bedroom. That's funny. This one's from Heather. I think my daughter was 5 when she said, Mommy has a hairy pee-pee at the Thanksgiving dinner with my in-laws.
Oh no!
I know, it's like you said, they must just have these random things going around in their heads and they just come out.
But seriously, at the Thanksgiving dinner table, why the fuck? Why?
Oh my gosh. All right. This one's from Shelly. My 3-year-old is asking everyone their name right now. He asked a lady sitting behind us at a high school football game, "What's your name?" She answers him, "Sharon, what's your name?" And he says, "You have dirty teeth, Sharon." I wanted to die.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, kids can be so truthful.
I know.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
always stuff that you think, but then they go ahead and say it, and you're like, oh, shit. All right. And this one's from Katie. Drinking Coke makes you bleed from your penis.
Say what?
All it says is drinking Coke makes you bleed from your penis.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
This one's from Lola. We were eating dinner at a restaurant, and my 4-year-old son holds his belly and says loudly, "Mommy, my tummy hurts. I think I'm going to start my period."
Oh, that's hilarious.
This one's from Jennifer. My 3-year-old daughter looked straight at a random man in Target and said, "I have a vagina."
Oh my gosh. That poor man.
What would you do if someone came up, a little kid came up and said that? I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd probably be like, well, congratulations.
Okay, let's see. This one's from Jennifer. It says, an old lady was talking to me and my son, and my son looked at me and said, "Mom, is she going to die soon?"
Oh shit.
Poor old lady.
Oh, yeah. Aw.
This one's from Kim. I farted and poop came out. Mom, has that happened to you?
Sure did.
Let's see. The next one, this is from Glenn. Took my kids to see Puss in Boots, and when the lights dimmed and Puss appeared on the screen, my middle son screamed, "It's pussy time!" The whole theater was cracking up. I laughed so hard I cried. Oh my gosh. That's
It's
great.
pussy time. Oh my gosh. That is the best thing I think I've ever heard in my life. Oh my gosh. That is so funny.
This one's from Chrissy. Mom, that guy just totally checked out your butt. This, of course, was said very loud in the deli department at my grocery store. He's 10.
Oh no. Oh, that went from really flattering to ew. No.
Okay, this one is from Christy. My daughter quoted a line from Dumb and Dumber. while a nurse was helping her use the restroom. Well, suck me sideways.
Inappropriate.
This one's from Amy. My youngest yelled, "I have the squirts," as she as she came running down the grocery aisle with a squirt bottle of Hershey's chocolate syrup.
That's great.
All right, this one's from Yvonne. My 4-year-old at Costco, when someone with a shopping cart was blocking the aisle. Choose a lane, asshole. Wonder where you heard that.
Oh, yeah, road rage. That's hilarious.
Let's see. This one's from Nikki. Shopping for hygiene products. Mom, are you getting deodorant or powder for your boob sweat? Okay, this one's from Kat. 4-year-old son in a crowded deli. Mommy, please get your vagina out of my face.
What? Is it the height?
I think so.
Oh my gosh.
It's only 4, so probably, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. This one's from Shelby. I went into a very crowded restroom with my son once, and when he saw me sit on the toilet, he yelled, "Mama, go poop!" Okay, and this is the last one. This one's from Sarah. In an overly crowded, quiet elevator, my son, who was 4 at the time, asked an old lady who was smiling at him, "What are you looking at, weirdo?"
Oh my gosh. And what do you do when your kid says that to someone?
Luckily, that never happened with Peyton.
Yeah.
He never embarrassed me
Oh my
or anything. So I've been lucky.
Well, I've got a 14-year-old autistic child who still thinks that way, who has a very deep voice, is very loud, and he's just so innocent, and he just like, what's that brown boy doing? And I'm like, oh my, I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know, oh my gosh. So I'm like, just don't say that. I don't know if that's offensive or not, but don't say it. I don't want to offend anyone. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Hilarious though. If you guys have anything for our new segment, Witty Wrap-Ups, we want to hear it.
Oh yeah.
Embarrassing shit
definitely.
your kid said to you in the middle of
That would be awesome.
a
I love
crowded
those
store.
stories.
I know. It's so funny. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. And again, send us your stories. We don't care if it's scary or funny or spooky or weird or bizarre or anything. Send it to us, GhoulsNightOutPodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. There's a couple others in there, but I'm not 100% sure what they are. I think Tumblr. And you can find our podcast on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it just started with the 7th episode. So I'm going to have to try and figure out how to get the first 6 on there. But starting with the 7th, you can listen to us on YouTube. So look for us on there. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast Addict, any of those. And again, if I've missed any of them that I just need to post on there, let me know. If you know anybody that loves podcasts, spread the word. We want to hear all their stories too. And so look us up, and thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.